Uh, it's loud. Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Nauset Regional School Committee to order January 3rd, at 6:33. We do have a quorum. Down here, and Catherine and Carrie, you're on line. Catherine and Karen, you're on.
Yep.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. So as required by the open meeting law, we are informing you that the district will be videotaping this public meeting. In addition, also text to either video, audio tape this meeting, they are required to chair. Seeing none, before we start, I would just like to point out, the Regional School Committee, homeless vagabond for years, now have a memorial hall in the Nauset room of the middle school. Newly inaugurated 3 days ago or something. We have a perfect space. It is great. And I would like to thank Kristen Anderson, whose idea this was, not just for us. And all of the custodians here so hard to clean this room up. I've been told there was a lot of cleaning to do, clean it up. Painted it, the floors, the walls, repurposed some chairs. These are our new school chairs. And it's wonderful. So we thank you all for the effort. It's good to be home.
Good to have.
Yeah. Our nomadic ways are. So agenda changes. Brooke, are you out also?
She's here, yep.
There's only one agenda change that I know of. We have no financial report. No reports. Okay. So item F is off the agenda. We move to public comment. If any members of the public would like to address the committee, they have a maximum of 3 minutes to discuss topic. And under open meeting law, though, just to inform everybody that the committee is unable to reply, but we may add agenda items, in a future agenda. Having said that, is there anybody out there? Do we have any public comment? No one was raising their hand.
No hands.
No hands, okay. We move on then to the consent agenda. Approved gifts, grants, fundraising, and the minutes of January 9th. So I would like to acknowledge for those that haven't seen the packet. So I think it was at the last meeting that the Nauset Middle School came in with their packet of grants. The high school has stepped up their game this time. So we have over $5,000 in grants from the K-5 to the robotics and Hope Squad, 2 grants. Grants to the class of 2025 from Siemens Bank and the Hot Chocolate Sparrow. The Provincetown PTO made a grant to Best Buddies program. Nauset newcomers to the jazz band, the Red Barn, a grant for boys soccer, and the Special Olympics, a grant to the unified basketball and track teams. So that is all great. We thank everybody for your generosity, and I know it will be well used. There was also a grant in there, for the Nauset Regional Middle School, for the Go Green to help bring composting to the Nauset Regional Middle School. And I will note that it was a student that applied for a $1,000 grant and that. So I think if she's looking for a job at grant writing, we may be able to accommodate. So those are the grants, and then there are minutes, any discussion?
I move that with a note of appreciation for the support of the community that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, any other discussion? All right, so we have to do this by roll call. So be prepared to unmute yourself, guys out there. Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Katie? Maura?
Yes.
Judy votes yes.
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Who else is- Oh, Carrie?
Yes, thank you, Carrie.
Did I get everybody? Are there just two out there?
Mhm.
Okay, so, the consent agenda has been approved. Okay, so now we're gonna move into priority business, the first business is moving into a public hearing on school choice, and for that, I am going to, need a motion, for us to move out of our regular meeting and into a public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Once again, any discussion? Tom, how do you vote? Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Judy, yes?
Yes.
Rick? Chris?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Carrie, yes.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing. So is there anybody in the public, we open up discussion? Robert Tobias. Okay. We'll open up discussion, Robert Tobias, are you there? Okay.
If you have to bring in.
We're trying to bring you in, Rob, just hang in there.
Great.
Yeah.
You can do it on. As a go, it's always like you. You just need my house.
No, it's not officially bars there. I don't think I can.
Yeah, I'll let them in and then we get ghosts, because you don't have ghosts.
Hold on, Rob, we're gonna shake your yellow hand soon.
You should also talk about the owl.
Oh, yes, the owl, at least the
Got
owl.
visual effects going on here. It's like.
So this owl turns around to whoever is talking, and
Thank
I
you.
was in a meeting the other day with it, and if it's sitting right across from you,
It's creepy.
it's got eyes. See what it does?
The owl is our video. In case anybody.
Yes.
There's not an
Camera
owl
in front of us.
in this room.
No, I would be freaking out if there were a real owl. Birds inside buildings are not my thing.
So
I think I'm a panelist now.
Okay, Rob, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Speak.
I will say the owl probably needs to be a little closer to you guys for future reference point. Sometimes you break up a little bit. And I would also just mention that I thought Maura did a great job managing the superintendent candidate discussions, and I thought you brought in some wonderful candidates. But I want to talk about school choice. So I'd like to ask the school committee to add to a future agenda a data-driven discussion on the costs and benefits of accepting school choice students in our middle and high schools. Over the years, I've heard arguments both for and against accepting school choice students at Nauset. Do allow school choice students because a bigger school enrollment creates more opportunities and programs for in-district students. But there is ample evidence that School size has little to do with school performance. Don't continue to add school choice slots because the average cost per student per year at Nauset is like $30,000, while the state only pays Nauset $5,000 per student. Seems like a no-brainer, but it is, of course, not so simple. Do allow school choice students because they fill otherwise empty seats in classes we will run anyway. So $5,000 bonus money per school choice student we otherwise wouldn't get. Don't continue school choice because if we eliminate the 120 school choice students we have at the high school, we could move grade 8 into the new high school complex with grades 9 and 12 and save money in the consolidation. Do continue to bring school choice students into the district because it adds diversity to the schools, but school choice is based on a blind lottery that doesn't consider diversity. So some examples of for and against, but a data-driven discussion that would include quantitative and qualitative aspects of school choice will support or refute these arguments. Opportunity costs, as well as revenue, should be included in the discussion. For example, if you were to do a desk exercise of eliminating the 120 school choice slots at the high school, would we learn that some programs are being taught only to out-of-district students? How, for example, would Principal Clark adjust scheduling without the school choice student slots filled, and could it result in labor savings? Does the data show increased diversity from the acceptance of school choice students? So a data-driven discussion will support or refute the arguments around accepting school choice students and result in a better informed decision by this committee on the role school choice will play in the long-term strategy at Nauset, and better educate the taxpayers of our member towns who fund our schools. Thank you for airing my comments.
Appreciate your input. Is there anybody else out there that would like to discuss the school choice issue? Seeing no hands, do we have any discussion here within the group?
I don't know that we take part in the hearing. I mean, it was a back and forth or questions were asked, I think, but I think,
All right,
I don't believe-
fair enough. Oh, wait a minute. What hand is that?
there's one.
Carrie.
Oh.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. You're right. So just so that, people, new to the committee know, or those of us who've been here but have to be reminded, there is no vote for us to take. If we continue with the school choice program, the only vote would be taken, it would be to opt out of it. So on that, I know that the school choice, is open at the schools, correct, Ellen? Yes. And we are accepting, applications, for next year at both the middle school and high school. I don't know if there's anything more to say. So in that case, we don't need a vote to stay in the program.
Through the chair,
I-
I believe Carrie Hoffman has a question.
I think we get out of the hearing.
Hi,
and
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think Carrie, but, yeah,
Is is it loud enough? Can you hear me?
okay, we can hear you, you're fine, but, I think Chris pointed out that this isn't a discussion for us, within the public hearing portion,
Okay, you want to end that first?
so we'll get out.
Okay. So can I make a motion to leave public hearing? Are you ready for that?
Absolutely, may.
Okay,
Okay, motion has been made, seconded to move out of public hearing back into regular session. Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Judy, yes. Rick?
Yes.
Chris,
Chris?
yes?
Heather?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes,
Catherine?
Yes.
Okay. So we're back in, out of public hearing, back in regular session. Okay, next on the agenda is, we have Matt Kravitz, our special education director. Carrie,
yeah, I just want to just say a real quick follow-up to the discussion about school choice. I think that I think it would be wise because school choice is very misunderstood by many people and not understood. The details of it, it's very complicated. And especially how it plays out in populating the high school and the middle school. So I just want to refer back to the fact that we're talking about Chapter 76, Section 12B of Mass General Law. So if anybody wants to look it up, they can use that as a resource. But I think that it would be great to have at some point a school choice 101 so that we can help explain to the public, to the other committees, to ourselves, and to our FinComs and select boards out there, just what school choice is, what it does, what it doesn't do, and just how it impacts our district. Just a comment.
great. Good point, thank you. Oh, Catherine, sorry, your little hands are way too far away.
That's okay. I was just reacting to what Carrie said and also, yeah, I do think that we need to do some communication on school choice and have one of these data-driven discussions. I think it would be beneficial for all. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, duly noted. Okay, Matt, are you out there? He's here.
He's
to
right
give us
here,
a
Yep.
Special.
Yes, I am here. Thank you very much for inviting me today. Arlen, could you bring, thank you very much.
Oh, okay, all right, so you have a presentation, right, okay.
All right. Excellent. Volume's okay?
That's great, thank you.
Well,
Okay, Matt, you can start. Are you there or have we lost?
It looks like he's frozen.
Tomas?
Wait, he's moving.
Well, I guess we can't do it.
I can't do anything live.
There we go.
Here he is.
Is there any way we can see him?
Sometimes.
can you hear me now?
We can't
Yeah.
see him.
Sometimes they just freeze on the screen.
Yes, we can hear you, Matt.
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Matt.
All right, I'm sorry about this. So thank you for having me today. I'm making the rounds with all the school committees to discuss what populations are doing within special education at each of the districts, but also with the region to discuss some of the programming that's offered for specialized programs at the middle and high school. So first, starting off at the middle school, we break down some of the numbers that came from last spring. And if you look on the left side of the screen, it's broken down by total population, how many students with disabilities, which is 19% of the population. And then it breaks down further each of the specific disabilities. On the right side of the screen is the same data at this point of the school year. And you'll see that there's not very much change at all. It's a very stable population. We took that information and then we pulled out students will be moving up to the high school. And we then took all the students that we know of that are coming from each of the elementary schools. Can everyone still hear me okay? All
Yeah.
right, beautiful. Thank you. So to the best of our knowledge at this point in time, not counting for any move-ins, move-outs, choice in, or
Lost you.
in September at the middle school disabilities, and then you'll see the breakdown of the disabilities. Now, in terms of out of district, we have some students that were regional middle that moved up to the high school, and some students that were at the elementary. So again, we went from 4 students out of district within the middle school to 3 students estimated next year. And the important thing to note is that, again, this is stable population. We're not seeing a big increase or a big decrease within our numbers. Arlen, if we could take a look at the high school, please. Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, so same slide with high school numbers. From last May, you see the breakdown. On the top right, you see January, the breakdown. And then again, what we know of our students walking in the door in September, not counting any move-ins or move-outs. The number of students going out of district is stable. The percentage of the number of students with disabilities is very, very close. Our numbers, both in middle and high school, are very much on par with state averages, both in percentage of disabilities as well as the total number of students given our population with disabilities. Now, over the last 5 years, in looking at data that's available on the radar database through DESE, we saw an increase within autism from about 8% of our students with disabilities to 15% now, and emotional of disability of 10% to 16%. This mirrors again the state averages. Within the state from 2020 till present, autism went from 13% to 17%. So we're continuing with that curve that is represented all across Massachusetts. Next slide, please, Arlen. Okay, so this slide was actually available when I met with you last year, and it looked at the breakdown, because I track this in my office, the students that are going in and out of district and in and out of the schools. Now you see there that it does include 2 elementary students in the total numbers, but this is all the students that we're tracking going in and out. It does ebb and flow as some students age out at various points of the year, and some students can come into us during a point of the year. You look at that graph there and you see a line trend where it starts to dip down and then come back to its about baseline. And that just represents, at times, we have students move in from other towns. They may be referred to us from charter schools, or students whose disabilities may manifest and peak more at certain points of the year, requiring higher levels of care. So this is something that we're continuing to track going forward, because it does tell us where our strengths are and where areas of growth are within various levels of programming. And though on the left side of the screen, that is last year's data, you'll see that Nauset all, the combination, we're right on par with our neighboring districts as the total number of students that are out of district. Now, we don't have in front of you this year's, but this year's is very similar to this trend line. It's not varying much higher or much lower. So this appears to be what we have as a baseline for students going out of district. All right, next slide, please.
Quick question, Matt. Does Barnstable provide a lot of in-house services? Is that why their out-of-district placement is so low for percentage?
I can't give you a definite on that, but I will tell you that that number ebbs and flows a little bit each year. At the 2020 school year, they had a low number out, and that is coming off of COVID. That's not their 23 or 24 data. That's what I could grab from DESE's website. So that numbers are a little bit low. I could extrapolate a lot, but I don't have the actual data as to why Barnstable was low in 2022. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I know there's a lot of words on here, but I'll kind of talk it through. This is a little bit of a discussion and context to some of the programs that are offered at the region that help to keep our students in district. Now, first at the middle school, we have about 69% of our students with disabilities are full inclusion. They're in all general ed classes with supports. 22% are in partially included classrooms and maybe pulled out for part of the time, and 8% is completely out of mainstream classes and only working with students with disabilities. Now, compared to the state average, we're very, very close. We're at 6
Matt,
full inclusion. The state average is 67. We're at 22. Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. The state partials 13, we're at 22. State average of substantially separate 14, we're at 8. We're very, very close, continuing to mirror state averages across the board. So for programs at the middle school, there really are 3 specialized programs. The first one is the SAIL program, which stands for Specialized Approaches to Individual Learning. That targets students with the need for applied behavioral analysis and may have autism spectrum disorder. That is a substantially separate classroom where it's designed to have the students be working by themselves. That is a very low number, high need classroom. That's where there are 5 students in there with 1 teacher and 4 paraprofessionals. So therefore it's a 1-to-1. It's the most restrictive within that disability area that we have. Then we move to the ILP, or the Individualized Learning Program, that supports students with social emotional disabilities. You'll see that there's 13 students and 3 staff. This is designed where we have 2 teachers running 2 classrooms and a dedicated counselor to support those staff. And paraprofessionals kind of move in and out and follow students as necessary. That is not a substantially separate class. That is a change in this year. The students going through the ILP very often attend partial inclusion. So they'll be out for periods of classes. It may be 1 class, it may be 6 classes. It's really individualized, which is how the program is designed. So if a student may need that as a home base or as an intervention for 1 subject, they can accommodate that. The last program that the middle school offers is something that they call the Bridge Classroom. Bridge Classroom is not specifically for students with disabilities. It is also open to general ed students. This services a lot of students that may have they may be stepping down from a hospital setting. They may be going through something difficult at home and need a temporary soft place to land to receive clinical supports as well as their academics, or a student that may just have a difficult time that day and utilize it as a way to regroup themselves. That is, I put the number 5 students and 2 staff. The 5 students varies class to class and day to day and week to week. It could be much higher. It could also be much lower, but they have the capacity to service students that may need that higher need of clinical support without the bigger classes and moving around the building until they're able to self-regulate. Okay, so now moving into the high school, you'll see a lot of similarities and through lines. If you look, the inclusion, partial inclusion, full inclusion, and substantially separate is very close to the middle school's numbers as well, which is also very close to.
Oh, wait a minute,
We lost.
So the programming that ports.
We
Oh,
checked
can you
out.
still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the high school. At the high school, they have something that is referred to as life skills class, which is a non-diploma track for students that require more intensive programming. They may receive some classes out in inclusion, or they may be completely substantially separate all day long. It's really individualized, but it is transparent to families that this is not a diploma track. This is meant to not focus on the academic content areas. It may be on the functional adaptation of lessons to help them in daily life and independent learning. So within that classroom, we only have 3 students, but again, it's very intensive. So there are 4 staff members, a teacher and a paraprofessional for each. The high school also has what we refer to as the ILP, servicing social emotional students. And this was something that there was a change this last year. They moved from a substantially separate model to a full or partial inclusion model. So we now have 2 counselors that are assigned to any number of the 8 students that are identified, and they follow them throughout the day, providing real-time support. So whether it be a behavioral modification to an emotional support to some learning coping skills or relationship building skills, it's 2 highly qualified clinical staff that are working at times hand over hand with students in the classroom setting, which has proven to be very successful this year, going from the substantially separate to the inclusion model. And then we have post-grad, which would be our 18 to 22-year-old students that, again, are not working towards a diploma track, but need that supported community engagement and in the community learning for independent life. Currently, we have 4 students that are supported by 3 staff. So since we've made some small changes to the program delivery, we have only seen this year, since September, only 1 student has gone out of district from the 2 region schools. And that is something to celebrate. That means that our programs are supporting the students that we have. We're meeting them where they are.
Okay, Matt, we have a question.
Sure.
Matt, are those post-grad students, where are these services provided? In the school? Or are they at work sites, or are they at their homes?
It is a blend of community-based and school-based. So there are maybe some students that have internships or jobs, or some students that may just need the skill to go out and learn how to ride a bus in the community or how to go food shopping. It is focused on things they would need for independent life. And there's a lot of flexibility with that. So they do have buses, the small buses that can take them out into the community to provide them those opportunities. This is very important to us because our older students we want in district because they're going to be living in our community. We don't want them going to an 18 to 22-year-old program off Cape, and then they're not learning how to live in the lower Cape region. We want them here accessing our community, our transportation, our food shopping. We want them to learn how to live where they're going to be. I see Carrie has her hand up.
I do. Thank you, Matt. And thank you for this information. I would love to, hopefully we can get a copy of your presentation. Because there's so much detail in it, it's wonderful. Just going back to the question about the post-grad 18 to 22 program. Yes, it's great that we use the community and also the internships and all of that. And the question was, oh gosh, within that program, how much of the school is dedicated to those students? Like, is there a separate setting? Do they do any culinary work within the high school? Is there anything that kind of do within the school for those kids? And the other part of that question is, Cape Cod Community College has a fabulous college-based program for kids of that age as well. I think it's called Project Forward. Do you ever do work alongside of them?
I'll take that in reverse order. So
Okay.
yes, we are aware of that program. Last year, we did not have any students that were eligible for it. So it is something that we look on a case-by-case basis. Some students may be ready to take a community college class with their support. Other students are not. But we do keep that door open for a student that may be that may be appropriate for. Now, in terms of the new school, yes, they have their own brand new space in the brand new building, which is wonderful. And washer and dryer, and there's the school store there, and they are active members of the school community. And Principal Clark can tell you much more than I can about this because he's there day in and day out. But they are fully embedded in all the activities at the high school. They did not seclude them at all. They're in the heart of the campus. It is wonderful. So proud of what they have done with building up the image and the integration of these students in that population. Pat, feel free to jump in if you'd like to at this point, but I will say that they're fully embedded. It's great.
Great. And just before Pat goes into, those kids from Life Skills also kind of phase into that program as they turn 18?
So that is a natural progression for those that need it.
Okay.
Not everyone needs to go past 18. We have students that may start out in life skills, and then we realize they're actually maybe appropriate for a modified diploma track, and then they change tracks. So we have that flexibility, and we try to make that determination early on with the family.
Thank you.
Okay, just wrapping up the summary real quick. The largest change that we had in both the middle and high was really focusing on putting the right people in the right places with the right practices. And there's been little tiny movements of like moving teachers from one SAIL classroom to life skills, and then changing from a substantially separate emotional-based program to a fully inclusional program. And those small tweaks and changes, what's worked, we've built upon. And because of that, again, we're not sending students from the region out at this time, which is wonderful. And also, we're looking at 3 students returning to us next year that have been out of district for quite some time. One of them for our post-grad program, which I'm super happy about. The family took the recommendation that they want to come back to spend their last year with Nauset in the community that they will live in. So I think that's wonderful. All right, very last thing. I know last year we had the Behavioral Health Task Force, and there was lots of discussions on it. And I know that group started around the COVID era, and it may have started under one goal and mission. And as our needs have evolved since COVID, this is an excellent opportunity to do a revamp 2.0. So in working with several people, we're going to be looking for volunteers that would like to participate in this being embedded within the health and wellness. So therefore, the Health and Wellness Committee be the reporting out mechanism, but the work being done separate from that, starting with identifying what are the specific goals, objectives, and missions that we're doing with mental health, and then measuring our progress along the way and using the Global Health and Wellness Committee as the share out modality for that. And that concludes things.
Thanks, Matt. Brooke, yes.
Yes, thank you so much. So just a quick follow-up. I think one of the things I want to make sure, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you'll do that. When we look at the out-of-district placements, though, and I know that our school committee friends know this, but I just want to put this on the table again. When we have students that come in, we might have the same numbers, but the types of out-of-district placements will vary. And so, for example, it's a lot different when you're sending a student to a collaborative school than to a school on the other side of Sagamore, where your transportation is that much higher, and or residential. And so those are all things that we're going to be bringing to you here in, the next little while, because we do see an uptick in our costs right now, primarily as some of those out of district changes that are necessary, because we're not able to necessarily keep them in a collaborative. We're finding that there are more and more students that are going out to different types of out of district. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, because I think people are going to look, Matt, my concern is I don't want people looking at those numbers and saying, well, it should be exactly the same, because it isn't the same, because as those students change, so do the out of district dollars change. So I just wanted to put that out on the radar. So Matt, you did a great job tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you're absolutely right. As our numbers of students with autism go up, those programs are significantly more expensive and further away.
Thanks for that clarification, Brooke, because I was gonna ask a question, because we had 22 out of district in 24, and we have 22 in 25, but yet you said 3 coming back. And so it's a little hard to figure out who these people really are, and how many people are leaving, and how many people are coming back, and what's different about them, because from the presentation, it looks 22, looks like 22, and so I think maybe we need to, the differentiation, because if this is going to affect the cost this year, if we're gonna see this in the budget, it would help us understand why, I think. Is that clear?
Yes, I agree with you, because, and I think that's why I wanted to make sure that we put that out there, because that has to be a consideration when we take a look at these out of district placements, because it's not apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So thank you.
Sorry for that. I was just trying to work on some kinks here. We can hardly see the people that are talking to us. We only see ourselves, which isn't really necessary, quite frankly. And so I was just trying to see if we could see you a little bit better and bigger, but apparently we're gonna have to go for, you know, the next plan next time. Okay, Brooke.
Through the chair, though, you know what? I'm just so proud that you're in the Nauset room.
Yes.
I know it has taken us a long time to get here, and I know that you gave Kristen all the kudos tonight, and our custodial team. I think for the maiden voyage of this, I think it's going really, really well. We can make tweaks from here, unless we forget when we first started. And I know Chris and Judy, you'll remember too, when we first started at the middle school with all the new technology in the auditorium. Rick, I'm sure you remember too. You know, we had kinks and little bugs that we needed to work out then too. So this is just fine. We'll get better and better at it. It's just wonderful to have a home.
Thanks for that. Okay,
Carrie has her hand up.
Carrie?
Oh, yeah, real quick. Yes, and I really want to appreciate to say thank you to Matt for explaining all of the programs, the in-district programs. And just as I think we've talked about in some discussions over the past couple of days, one idea is kind of connecting with our local school districts to find out, especially with kids with low incidence needs. What can we do to partner with some of the other districts to share, to tuition in from one district, either from their district to us or our district out to them, to use some of the other public schools as placements is one idea. The other thing is to market our great programs that you have worked and the staff has worked so hard to develop. You know, the life skills, the post-grad, the ILP, all of that is great stuff. And for people, especially new people coming into the district, those move-ins, I think it's so important for them to get to know what we have to offer, and kind of reevaluate those kids to see whether or not they're a good fit for those programs. So, so congratulations on doing a great job.
We can make sure we get a copy of that
Yes,
presentation.
that's right here. Matt, where'd you go?
I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Oh,
Excellent.
Arlen,
Thank you.
Arlen's on it.
You got it.
Arlen is on it. All right, anything else? Okay, thank you very much, Matt. Oh, there's Matt. You guys are doing it around. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, as always. Okay, now we're gonna move on to C, our foreign exchange student program. And Principal Clark is here, and is Jenna with you, or is it you? Oh, there she is.
It's both of us, yes.
Oh, Brooke wants to speak.
Thank you. Can I tee this up, please, first, and then we'll turn it over to Principal Clark and Jenna. Jenna, thanks for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. So I was explaining to our chair that I think when we took a look at reinvigorating this program and bringing it back on stream, we reached out to our legal. We said, what do we have to do to make sure that we can bring this back? And we got the kind of like the checklist. Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And I was working with one lawyer in our firm who we normally work with this kind of thing. And so we thought we had done all the checks. We thought we covered all the boxes. And because in part, a large part, because this program was in place before, it was kind of an easy thing from the legal department's perspective, because really we were just bringing that program back on stream again. And so we were all set to do it. We had a lot of discussion, and I'll turn it over to Pat in a minute to talk about that discussion that happened. And I think that everybody did a really good job. Jenna did a great job. I think everybody did a really good job with this. And then we get to the point where, okay, we've got some interest and we're ready to go. And Giovanna, who I know is sitting with you too, said, well, wait a minute, don't we not have to have the school committee vote on the tuition rate? And so she called a different lawyer at our legal firm and was like, well, yes, you do. Well, nobody told me when we were talking about this and trying to get it restarted that this particular vote needed to happen. So grateful to Giovanna for reaching out to Nancy Campani, who I know many of you know well. And so we come to you this evening, and we'll just give a quick snapshot. Pat, I'm going to turn it over to you and Jen in a minute to explain where we're at, what's happening right now, some of the background work that's happened on this. So Pat, with that tee up, I'm going to turn it over to you and have you start.
Great. Thank you very much. Starting back last school year with some preliminary conversations, and then more intensely over the course of the fall, we've become re-engaged in conversation with Educatius, the same international student placement firm that Nauset has used historically. Going up through about 8 years ago, there was a fairly robust program to the tune of 10 or 15 students each year here from around the globe. The last couple of years before COVID, it kind of dwindled a bit, and then obviously ceased to exist with no travel and in the pandemic. So the idea here, and I think from comments from members of the school committee and our faculty and families, is that it's a win-win when you bring students from around the globe. A real dynamic and excellent teacher leader that we have at the high school is the department head for special education, but also the coordinator for this program for us, and that's Jenna Margada. So Jenna is here tonight to get into some of the nuts and bolts of that, and then we're both here to answer any questions that you might have. So I'll turn it over to Jenna.
We should have compared notes. I also have, it's a win-win situation. Thank you everybody for having me. I'm Jenna Margada. Like Pat said, I'm the International Student Program Coordinator for Nauset High School. And I'm really excited that we have brought this program back. It existed when I first started. And when Pat started the conversation, I immediately threw my hat into the ring. It's right up my alley. I was a former international student myself. I've benefited from host families. I really see the gains, all the pluses for us as a district. There's really valuable opportunities for the international students to come and experience the Nauset experience at our high school. And then we get to benefit from the diversity of the cultural exchange, the global connections that come with it. And it really just creates this really lovely, inclusive, welcoming environment for both of the international students and our local students, really broadening that educational experience for everybody. I have had the pleasure of reaching out to many of the former host families that hosted pre-pandemic, and every single one of them, there's 47 total. Every single one of them had a glowing story to share. One family is now the American grandparents of their international student's child. And, I think the connections, I've had many of them sign up to come back to host again. And then also there's a lot of interest from current families who are wanting to host right now. Any questions?
Maura?
Yeah, now, will we also have an opportunity to send students to other countries for this exchange, or right now is it just we're bringing students to Nauset?
Yeah, so it really isn't so much an exchange student, an exchange program that our students can participate in, because Educatius is one way, so they bring kids to us. I have talked to a few families who hosted in the past who, once they had their international student here for a semester or for a year, they arranged privately through whatever agency does it the other way, and they sent their child abroad for a semester or a year.
So through the chair, thank you, Jenna. Through the chair, I just wonder, Pat, if you could just review or Gio, because I know you were involved as well on the tuition figure and how that was arrived at. So maybe Pat, let's start with you, and then Gio, if he's missed anything, you can add it as well, or I can. So Pat, can we ask you to give that broad stroke overview, please?
Sure can. So we looked at the comps in terms of the schools that are in Massachusetts, Newton North, Marblehead, Hamilton, Wenham, a whole variety of them, and took the median dollar figure of what would be smack dab in the middle for a Massachusetts school, and determined that rate should be $17,000 per year for a full year and $8,500 for a semester. We know that one of the schools, and I believe it was Marblehead, tried to run it up to their per pupil expense, and their program froze, meaning that when it was up over $20,000, they were getting no customers from the International Placement Agency. So we said, why don't we start with right in the middle, see how we do with that, track it, and then year to year have the conversation as to what the tuition should be. So at this point, we're recommending $17,000 annually per student, full year, $8,500 for half year. And I think that from the homework we've done, we've hit the sweet spot on that figure.
And I think, Pat, as well, I think it's worthy to note, I believe we have 2 students who have shown some interest as well. So I just would want the committee to know that we do have some interest out there.
We have some interest, and we have some people who are requesting bills. We'd like to put those bills out, and we'd like to bring the dollars in and get the international students on board with us. And Jenna, the timing of that in terms of the calendar, that means those students would arrive when and what duration?
So one of the students is arriving, they're both arriving for a September start. One is coming in for sophomore year, full year, and the other is senior first semester. Italy and Germany.
I think I'd like to point out, if anybody's thinking about the tuition, I believe that the sending families pay way more than the tuition, because the host families also get paid for hosting them and taking them around to do things.
Yeah.
So a host family is probably putting out twice that amount of money. Well, I don't know how much, but a significant amount more to send there. So it's not as though they're paying 17, they're probably paying 25, 27 when you add it all together. Yeah, John.
For students to attend, they pay Educatius right around $50,000 for the year.
And what does host families get? I mean, just what is the stipend for a host family?
Sure. For this fiscal year, it's $700 a month. And if the student requests a private room, meaning they can't share a room with anybody else, a bedroom, it's $900 a month.
So through the chair, what we're looking for tonight is a motion to approve this tuition so that we can please bill and move forward.
Is there any more, just a bit more?
I don't think this was mentioned, but is there a number of students that you're anticipating or a cap? Or can you talk a little bit about your thought process around numbers?
Sure. So we are starting small. So we have told them ideal number for this first full year of doing it would be about 10 students. And they have indicated that they think that they can meet that. And then the sky's the limit. It is also driven by host families. So as long as we have people willing to host, we can take however many. So if any of you would like to, let me know.
Yes, right, absolutely. I don't know if they'd like to live with old folks though, but.
You have Carrie.
I have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's Karen.
Go ahead.
That's okay, no rush. This sounds wonderful, and I understood the program when it was, I guess 15 years ago, 10 years ago when it was active. So it's really exciting to see it come back. In terms of the numbers coming in, just like school choice, are there seats for each grade level that you have room for? And how does that work in terms of your acceptance of particular students?
Jenna, I would say our conversations with Educatius, they allow us to be flexible on a case-by-case basis where we can look at what the learning needs are of the student and then figure out if we can accommodate that. So rather than just say, is the student an 11th grader, you have to look a little more specifically if the student is a real, academically driven science and math student. Do we have the actual seats in those classes? So we'll dig into that with the counseling department before saying yes to make sure that we can live up to the promises of the right classes being available. But it's a little more customized than just the generic kind of grade level.
Great, thank you.
Julie? Or no, Gemma, you have your hand up?
I
Okay.
apologize. I left.
Oh, that's okay. I confuse easily, so don't worry about it. Chris?
No, please, I've been, go ahead.
Please, I just was curious, not too familiar with these programs. Are there additional costs annually for the district, additional types of insurance, additional type, do we use the tuition to offset that information? Where does the tuition go? Is it a revolving fund? Is it a general fund? I just need some information.
Are there additional costs for the district?
From our conversations, there are no additional costs for the district that we've been made aware of in terms of enhanced insurance. I could be corrected from Giovanna. I don't believe that's the case. And the internal accounting mechanism, I'd ask Giovanna to sound off about what the best route is for that.
Giovanna actually had her hand up.
You have to speak up.
I'm sorry. The funds that we receive from the international students are in a separate revolving account. In the past, we've used those funds to support programming within the district, i.e. Purchase of technology, the iPads when we originally purchased them, we've used them to make upgrades district-wide. So those are set in a revolving account. The other item with respect to any additional costs that would impact the district, they'd be part of the student accident insurance, just like other students would be, and that is it. There's nothing, there aren't any other costs.
Thank you.
Chris?
So just a question on, I just thought these programs were dead for the longest time, and then no students were coming. Is it more just we weren't participating, and there is active desire to have students come? I mean, the students are really wanting to come across?
Students really want to come, yes. And I think Nauset's program, if I'm not mistaken, faded for about 3 years before COVID hit. It was more robust back several years ago. Right before COVID, it kind of dwindled down to a single digit, 5, 4, 3 students. And then COVID hit and obviously it ceased. But yes, there is tremendous interest. A lot of the families are sizing up whether these students want to go to college in the United States and they want to have an experience of a quality of education delivered at a place like Nauset Regional High School. So yes, the interest is rebounding nicely.
Just to speak to that, one of the students who has applied, coming from Germany, solely applied because she drove past our high school this past summer. So they want to come.
She knew it was gonna be done by next year, huh? Good, Chris.
We
So does
Googled
that
it.
Just want to thank you for getting this program back up and running, because it is such a great educational experience for everyone involved. It's such a good thing. It's beautiful stuff. I never took part, but my sister was involved, and she still has contacts in Peru from her high school days. She's long retired. So I mean, it's good. It's such great. It's so good for everyone. It's such a good thing. So thank you for your efforts. It's good education.
Yes, so it was right to use win-win twice because it's working. Yeah, okay. So Katie?
I just have one quick comment. So we've had personal experience with our childcare when our kids were younger, doing international not students, but coming over and helping with childcare. And sometimes there is not always a perfect match with the host families. So just wanted to make sure that that's something being thought through as if host families don't work out, where do people go and kind of how that works out.
Absolutely. So I am also serving as the local coordinator for Educatius, specifically working with host families. So I'm the person locally that can go help mediate any situations, that arise at the house. And then Educatius also has a 24/7 assistance team that host families can reach out to. I do a whole orientation with each host family and with each kid. We set the family rules, expectations. I anticipate they are teenagers. They are going to be teenagers, and it's difficult to fully replicate that parental role. But it is definitely something that Educatius is very, very involved in. So thank you, though.
Okay, so I think we need a vote, just so I get the numbers right. Pat, you said, set the tuition at 17,000 for a full year and 8,500 for a semester. Correct?
Correct, thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve this, has moved, seconded. Okay, any more discussion? All right, we'll start with our folks online. Carrie, we'll start with you.
Absolutely, yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
There you are. Thank you. They jump all around the screen. Tom?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Judy, yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Heather, yes. Okay, it's unanimous. Go.
Thank you.
Bring it in.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Jenna. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meet the students. We'll have a meet the foreign students night or something.
We'll have a meet the students night, and then the school committee can decide which two of you are going to be housing parents. That would be great if we could get 2 out of this bunch, just so you know. And so we'll bring it both ways there. So thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too, Pat. Good night, Jenna.
Thanks a lot. Wow, that's great. This has been a long time. Good stuff, yeah. Okay, so we move now to D, the budget primer, and I can't really remember. Budget primer has been talked about a lot in the budget and finance subcommittee, and I don't know how much that has been brought up to the full committee, but Tom, do you want to talk about how this came to be?
Sure. As part of our budget and finance subcommittee meetings, we have 2 participants from the regional school finance committees who come to our meetings. And one is Rob Tobias, who has been coming for about 2 years now. They're just about all of our meetings. And Peter Wade from Eastham recently has started this year. we had much discussion, we've been going back and forth as a group, how do we educate the community, especially the town select boards and finance committees on how does the school system, how does the Nauset region work? And none of us took pen to paper and tried to break that out and do an explanation. Rob forwarded an in-depth, Rob Tobias from Brewster, an in-depth description of how the Nauset school system works. He put a lot of time in it, a lot of research, a lot of effort, and as Gio said at one of the meetings after reading it, it looks like Rob really paid attention at all the meetings. We thought if Rob felt, and we thought that it would be an excellent handout and primer to the neighboring select boards and FinComs. And Rob spent a lot of time with it. Brooke spent a lot of time with it. Kind of Nausetizing it. And then Judy and Maura took a final look at it and made some final tweaks. All of this work, though, the yeoman's piece of this work is from Rob. And I guess what we appreciate most is it's really a collaborative effort between the finance committees, specifically Rob and the finance committee and Brewster, of them making significant contributions to help us communicate effectively with our partners. I can't say enough for Rob's commitment and our appreciation for him doing this. And what we like to do, I know Peter Wade was pretty adamant that we get our work completed so that this could be handed out to the finance committees and select boards at our meeting on January 30th.
Before our meeting, that was the task, to get it to them before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Before, oh.
Yes.
I thought we had a deadline for the 30th.
No, I think I know it was before.
the meeting, right?
Well, we met before.
Yeah.
But Rob, you're still out there. Thank you very much for your efforts. We really appreciate it. And it's really a scholarly piece of literature. And please read it. I read it again and before the meeting, and I found something in there that it was an aha moment for me. And a few more. But thanks again. And what we'd like to do, since everyone through the system has reviewed it, and I know Gio reviewed it, we'd like to move this on now to make it public and be used as a tool for educating anyone in the district who wants to understand how we work. And maybe they can understand in the city what it took me 4 years to get 75% of it. So it's gonna go out basically under our name. So we want to get the blessing of the committee. I have to say, there's already in doing this discussions on what can be put in version 2 to make it better and bigger and expanded, include elementary schools, et cetera, but we want to start with this. We know this is us, and to get it out. Chris?
I got a couple just edits or questions. There's one on page 5. It talked about the capital plan projects. Now we have a 5-year and a 1-year capital plan. And then it goes into capital articles, and I'm not sure exactly how that falls in place. We've got the 1-year capital plan, and that is something that we do. We also assess the towns each year. Well, what is that called?
What's that called when you put it on the budget sheet?
Capital assessment.
It's called capital assessment.
So that might be the way to put that, then include debt service obligations of the district and a capital assessment or something.
Right.
Buildings has also been, on page 5 at the very bottom of the last line in it. And the cost of maintaining the buildings and grounds are captured in the capital asset budget. And while that is somewhat true, that's not entirely true, because there is without a doubt maintenance and other things within the budgets of the middle school and high school.
Okay, okay, got it.
And one last one.
What part of that is, okay, oh, I didn't get you.
Page 5, bottom of page 5.
No. But it's gonna be in both of these.
Yeah. The middle school and high school.
Yeah.
On that page, yeah.
Yeah, right, the middle school and high school, budget components, Nauset.
Okay, okay.
And then one last thing, and just, I heard that today in one of our meetings. I don't believe, the nurse leader is being called the nurse leader anymore. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure she was.
There's a slight change in title there to make it more all encompassing. So you're absolutely right, Chris. So great catch on that. Thank you.
On page 7 there.
What is it called now, Chris?
I don't actually, I'm sorry, what is her title?
What would we change it to?
She introduced herself to the candidate and
What?
something was, yeah, wellness coordinator, wellness. Ooh.
I think I'll have to check, to be honest with you. We can send that out but we can certainly make that adjustment.
Well, maybe if you tell me, what, say it again, page 7?
Yeah, it just lists nurse leader, but she's
Under where?
central office. It's at the top of the page, central office budget. It's the 4th line down. Are we in different numbers?
We have different pages.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, I couldn't follow.
Formatted these.
Just try to turn this.
So,
So
bottom
I'm
of
going
page
to
6.
as it's in.
Okay, oh, I see.
Yeah, page 6. Okay,
I was trying to.
so we need our new title. Okay, got it. All right,
That was all.
Heather?
I gotta say, this is great. I am in the middle of this for 8 different entities right now. This is like a version of a GFOA ASBO explanation, which is fantastic, best practice. It's just, a little bit shorter, which is awesome. But what I would say is highly beneficial from a communication standpoint, because that's essentially what this is to add something like an account structure matrix. So like, for instance, it's real simple. It looks kind of like an organizational chart, but it talks about like your general fund and what are part of that general fund and your revolving funds and what are those revolving funds. And it literally takes blocks. And I can tell you, it is an extraordinarily helpful tool when you give somebody this. It's wonderful and scholarly, but I'll tell you that the pictorial view of the account structure.
Is this something we can get in a day?
It's pretty quick if you can break out your account structure, literally in the back of the napkin, and then not tomorrow, drop it in. I can help.
Okay,
Or we just gotta get it out before.
or it's version.
Long school.
or it's version 2.
It's a good start.
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
start. I'm just, to break up the text.
Okay, got it. All right.
In the count diagram, what you call it?
It's called an account matrix.
Matrix, I guess.
A lot of those explanations. When the towns put out their ones, like the prime.
Okay, anything else then? Okay, with those edits, then I don't know that we need a vote on this. Do we feel comfortable with we want to vote or? Sure, let's have a vote. It won't
vote to thank Rob.
Yeah, there we go. So if we could have a motion to
Adopt? A motion to adopt?
Thank you.
I don't.
A motion to adopt this and distribute the whatever it's called. The
Budget primer.
budget. Okay. All right, is that what you're moving, Carrie?
So moved, yes, a Nauset to adopt and distribute the Nauset Regional School District Budget Primer.
Maura seconding it, any more discussion? Okay, so.
Oh,
we'll
as
have
edited, as edited, right?
2 on page 5 and 1 on page 6 or 7, depending what version you're.
What you're looking at.
Okay, Carrie, how do you vote?
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Judy, yes?
Rick, yes.
Chris, yes?
Heather, yes? Okay. All right, we kept our promise to the FinCom folks. We will get it out, next week. Okay. Check D. Now we move to E, treasurer position. Okay, so sad news. From my perspective, very sad news.
She's still gardening, so.
She will still be gardening. Connie Boulos, who has been our treasurer for. And has done a fantastic job. Is leaving her other full-time job is not going to allow her to continue to work on, she's worked one day in the office on Wednesday and it's not going to allow her to continue. So we have to look for a new treasurer. So again, for those of you who are new, the treasurer is employed by the school committee. It is the one employee other than the superintendent that we hire. In this case, it's just the region because the region, the treasurer works for the region. The elementary schools, they have their treasurers in the towns. So this is our employee. So we need to get this advertised. Connie has agreed to, we have to shift some things around a little bit to accommodate this. It's worth it. Agreed to stay until the end of June. She was not going to be able to work on Wednesdays as much as she did before, but made some adjustments and she can stay until the end of June. So we have some time. So as we did before, we worked with the HR and Giovanna's office, and there were 2 or 3 members of the school committee who got together and did a search and interviews and come back to this committee with a recommendation for hire. So I'd like to repeat that process. So I think to do now, anybody interested in working on the search for the treasurer, shoot me an email and we'll get it to HR and Deirdre will get the ball rolling. Carrie? You're muted.
Are you asking for volunteers to be part of this?
Send me an email.
Okay.
Well, yes, we'll get it to Deirdre and she'll get the ball rolling on this one. We'll get you together. We do have a pretty good scope of work. There we go. We worked on it quite a bit. The group will probably want to review it and see if it needs to be tweaked or updated at all. But that's what HR can work on. So
It would be ideal if we get someone in early as well, so there'd be some
yes,
overlap.
absolutely. I think Connie would like that.
Yeah,
And again, she's very shy. She doesn't like to come to meetings. I'm not saying we're scared. She's shy, although we might scare her. But we'll get her in.
we are scared.
Good round of, I'm scared.
I said, we are
scared.
scared.
Okay, I'm glad.
inclusive.
Yes, okay. We'll get her in here for us, send off, before she leaves. Chris,
Just to make, a quick note, she, is quiet and shy, but at the same time, she has, through her tenacity, I mean, she is anal about returns, and so she has made sure that she has maximized the return on investment for us, for all the funds that we had that weren't in place for the building project. And so, I mean, I don't know how it's not so much money that she's made the district, but she's been such a good guardian of that and maximizing the funds to us. And it, just when you can add more money to education, it's a good thing. So, we're not asking the town for it. So it's, she's done quite a job. She's very disciplined in her approach. She's quite a woman.
she's very disciplined and she cares about those accounts. She'll move money when she sees it. She's, which is great. It is,
She served us very
yes,
well.
she has. Okay, so then we're gonna jump to G, we've got a budget update, Giovanna.
Yes, share the screen.
You have to speak up, I can't even hear you.
Arlen, please share the screen.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Thank you. Which one would you like? Let's start with page one. One being the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go, yes, you're on.
So we began with version 1 for the high school. Dated December 9th, $14,144,794, which represents an increase of $1,086,906, or an 8.32% increase. Since version 1, we went back to the table with the building principals. We looked at use of rural school aid to assist in various line items, $100,000. We had retirement, and we also reduced the salaries teacher line item for the stipends for the high school project, so that's $55,000. We also had a retirement of a school counselor at $80,000, and we adjusted the gas line item down to $100,000. Okay, so that brings us to version 2, dated January 21st, of $13,809,794, an increase of $751,906, or a 5.76% increase. We are working on adjustments to the budget, and that would be version 3 for our next meeting. There's been some things that have come to light that will be reflected in the next version.
So you're keeping us in the dark.
Uh,
I'm just.
No.
Preview.
Brooke, do you want to add anything?
Yes, actually, if I can add several things, I would really appreciate that. So just a reminder, and I think more to our community members that are out there of our process, remember that you start with version 1 and we don't make any changes to the actual budget document itself until we get to the point at whatever version it is that we feel comfortable in having landed there. And only at that point in time do we take those numbers and put them back in and embed them into the actual budget, because there's still so much time for change between December and March. So you'll see this version 2 right now. We are aiming to try to get that number somewhere between 3 and 4. That is our goal. I know that our communities are they're waiting for the cherry sheets, which have just come out. And so we'll see, they gave some preliminary numbers to us in the month of December. That may change now depending on the cherry sheet that the communities have gotten. So it's way too new to know right now tonight as we sit here, but we are aiming for it to be somewhere between that 3% and 4%. The other thing, and I'll speak to this once you go through the middle school, I'd like to come back in through the chair and talk about the layering of how we're working through this on a broad stroke vantage point across Nauset Public Schools. So I would like to chime in once she goes through the middle school, and Gio, I'm assuming you have the third sheet here tonight too. So if, through the chair, if we could just have her go through the middle school, go through the third page, and then I'd like to be able to come back in and add some additional comments, please.
Absolutely, yeah, Maura has a question about the high school.
Just 2 points for clarification. So on the salary teachers line, there is a retirement that's not being replaced or being filled at a lower level.
That's
So
not being-
Not being replaced, okay.
yeah, there are two things that are at play there. There is one where one retirement will be backfilled, but at a lower level, and the other will not be backfilled and just will fall off by natural attrition in the budget. So that's why that 80,000, you see that 80,000 there.
Yeah.
So the counselor will not be replaced, but the teacher will be, is that the?
Yes.
So an 80, just because we got this in the subcommittee meeting, the 8311 line item, the 55,000 is reduced by the stipends, which was about 30,000, and then 25,000 for hiring a lower level teacher. The counselor is not going to be replaced.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
And the only thing that I would question on that is, I would assume that counselor's earning more than $80,000.
So just, so you're on that, because Steve, I was kind of weird, but I was at the school today. Steve Boskis, who retired last year, they hired someone in his place. That didn't work out, so they brought Steve Boskis back, so he's been putting in minimal time. But, so this is doing, he's one who helped my teachers through, my kids through their educational run. So he is the one that is.
I believe the retirement is not at the end of the school year. It's a couple of months into the new school year, so that's why it's 80,000.
Got it.
I apologize.
Got it, okay. Yeah. It's annoying, the little thing, yes, okay.
80,000 is annoying.
No, that you don't retire at the end of the school year, but you can. So, but he's not being replaced, so it doesn't really matter, right? Okay, anything else on that? We want to go to the middle school?
We started with version 1, $10,095,089, an increase of $467,735, or a 4.86% increase. We are utilizing the use of rural school aid that we expect to receive in fiscal 26, such as the high school, $100,000. And we also had reduction in the special education salaries teacher line. That's the savings for a retirement, 25,000. Bringing us to version 2, $9,970,089, an increase of $342,735, or a 3.56% increase.
So 8072 is retirement.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, Brooke, you want to come back in?
Yes, thank you. So, and Tom, if I'm saying anything that that I shouldn't be, or I make a mistake, I know you'll correct, and so will Gio if I say something that needs correction. So just a couple of quick things. Again, this is more for our community members out there. Just a reminder that regional school districts generally have like a budget and finance or budget and warrant committee, whatever moniker they want to go by, they choose to go by. And so this committee has the same. And so I just want to commend all the bodies that are on that particular committee, because I don't think people realize it's a lot of our school committee members that are in those meetings. Whether you sit on that committee officially, or you just show up to take part, and there are a lot of our school committee members on there. And so just kudos to all of you who take part and set aside time from your busy lives to come in and take part in that and keep current and to understand. And, you know, I know that Tom Fitzgibbons had mentioned earlier, and people like Robert Tobias and Peter Wade, Mary, there are all kinds of folks that come in and take in those meetings. And I'm just so appreciative, because we never are concerned by the numbers of questions that are coming at us, because it does help us to rethink, or do we need to shift our thinking on something or not? So I find those meetings are always very, very helpful. And I think one of the nice things too that I really appreciate this year is you see the legacy members that have been involved in that committee, certainly as long as I've been in the district. And now we're starting to see some of the newer members coming in there as well. And so that's a really nice blend, because you've got the legacy there and you've got the new folks coming in, learning more about how this is pulled together. So thank you to everyone for that. The other thing that we want to mention is that we are taking, and again, any one of you can to chime in here, but just again to mention that we are making some major shifts this year out of the region. And I think this is one of those things that was probably like, I don't know, 30 years in coming forward to do this. And this is the year that I think if people have said, you know, let's just rip off the Band-Aid, let's get this done right, and let's make sure things are in the right place. I want to go back and just revisit the fact that for the last couple of years, when I came in the district, I noticed that some of our lines were maybe not coded as they should be, and maybe weren't in as much compliance with the DESE lines. And certainly we had staff that maybe weren't in the right lines. And some of that is, and Carrie, I know that you would know this. I mean, certain special education teachers have to be on certain lines, you know, like that. And if you're not paying really close attention to that, it's easy to lose track of that. And we really made a concerted effort to go back after that in the last couple of years. So this year, we find ourselves at a different type of juncture, saying, okay, we've been doing that all the way along. Are we ready now to kind of go that next level? And that next level is, and I know you're all sitting here saying, yep, we know that, we know what you're gonna say, pre-K, OTPT, and just general lines and benefits that have been inside of the region budget, that the region has in essence been paying for through its community towns. We want to remember that. And but it's kind of like not in the right place. These lines have just not been in the right place. So when do you make that huge shift and say, you know what, this is the year we're gonna do some key shifts this year. We're gonna put the housekeeping pieces in the right place, and we're going to make some movement forward. And so it was decided this year that that's what we're going to do. The pre-K continues to be kind of something that's kind of just out there in terms of the legalese component. Where should that be housed in our particular hierarchy of NPS? Does it really belong with the region? Not really, because the region is really a 6 to 12, but there's no other unit. And so what does that look like? So we're waiting DESE response on that, but we can't wait on that because we don't know whether we're going to find out next week, tomorrow, 6 months, a year from now. It depends on how backlogged DESE's legal is on this. So we've decided that we would do something a little bit different. So Gio and I kind of played with some different ways of looking at this. And so then after we were kind of comfortable with where we sat with it, then we called in both Judah Schumacher representing the region and Gail Briere representing Union 54, and said, this is an idea. Does it look like this could work? And so basically it's kind of like creating a separate spreadsheet for the pre-K, taking a look at it through a different lens. And so kind of pulling it away from the region, pulling some of the OTPT benefits out of the region that don't belong there, and but pulling the benefits that really didn't belong there out as well. And so how we're going to do this, I mean, we've kind of got that work, I wouldn't say wrapped up, but probably 90% wrapped up, 80 to 90% wrapped up. But it's important for us that all of our school districts have their budgets close to being finished. That means from our lens right now, the only one that we might not be able to get to where we want to is going to be Eastham Elementary, which I've been very open about that. I don't know if we can get it where we'd like it to be or not. But once we get there where all of our districts are kind of comfortable with the space that they're in, then we can come back in the month of March and layer over what will ultimately become like a zero-sum change in housekeeping. Because if you've got an omnibus budget like Wellfleet or Orleans or Eastham, then you're really not going to feel it, because it's just a case of housekeeping. The numbers fall into different cells, so to speak. But I mean, if you take a look, if you were to stand outside of the box and say, well, wait a minute, it looks like central office's budget has gone up, I don't know, 45% or 50%. Well, not really. It started at a much lower percentage, but then once you added the costs that probably should always have been in central office, then all of a sudden you see this sharp increase in the central office budget. But then it's also reflected in a sharp decrease in the region budget. So it becomes like a wash, so to speak. But at what point in time do we say we're going to make these changes? And so I think as a collective this year, with a lot of discussion, it was decided that we should try to do this year and kind of clean this piece up. And so Tom and Gio, I turn to you and Judy. Am I missing anything? Did I explain that okay? Or is there something that you feel that you'd like to fill in on that?
I would just say, I think that the benefit of doing it this way is, for us, we're gonna see the region only budget as we have for the last however many number of years. And so we'll be able to see the budget proposed for this year, coming year, as opposed to next year, so you'll be able to see the percentage change. And so we'll be comparing apples to apples. Once that is done, then the layer goes on and we'll see what's taken off. And it will be moved over to the central office. I just would caution us when we look at this region only budget, which is always our, I don't even know what to call it.
Most expensive usually goes up the most.
It's all our most challenging. That just because this money is coming off doesn't mean we have free money to spend, or, you know, yippee, we're only going up, you know, 2.5%, we're the good guys. No, that's not the case. So we need to look at it with that perspective. It's more of getting things in their proper place so that you can see what is the cost of education, what is the cost of the central office. Can't tell what the cost of the central office is when you have salaries in one budget and you have benefits in another budget, but they're all blended in with somebody else's benefits. So this way, it's going to be cleaner, and it's quite a bit of money we're talking about. So it's the healthcare costs for the central office staff, it's pension costs for the central office staff, it's retiree health benefits. So there's a lot in here. So it will, again, put things in their proper category. The region still will be paying, because the region pays 60% of the central office. So it's not as though this is, we're doing this to free up money. Well, we're still gonna be paying for a good part of it. But we'll be able to actually tell, to see what does our central office cost us. And again, when the health benefits skyrocket, we, as the region, don't suck it all up. It's all where it can, kind of should be. So I would just say that, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. This hasn't been easy. I appreciate the openness and the collaboration on the part of the elementary schools. Because the overlay is gonna shoot their budgets up. So it's been a good partnership, I think, and all understanding why we're doing this and what it's gonna get us, and everybody's willing to rip off the Band-Aid.
And Judy, if I can just mention too, so I have been having this, giving the same type of remarks at every one of our elementary, every one of our elementary meetings this month as well. So this was my last one with the region, but this has been brought up. And yes, I would also say, because the elementaries now will be paying their full share of the pre-K program, and that's going to be a differential for them that they have not picked up before in their budgets. Again, the 4 communities obviously pay for the region, so somebody could argue that, but at the end of the day, I would agree with you 100%. I just think it's such a much cleaner approach, and people can see exactly where the monies are being spent. So I think that's it. And Tom and Gio, I don't know if I've missed anything from your perspective, or anybody else who's been taking in those meetings. Feel free to weigh in if I've missed something. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want it to be lost, we're not making these allocations, and I think Judy mentioned it earlier in some of her statements. We're not calling it a day. I mean, there's a good deal of emphasis on the principals and the administrative team to bring the school budgets, middle school and high school, in 3 to 4%. And we're just not going to say, well, business as usual. We're examining every aspect of it, class size and salaries, reconciling our head counts to what is actually being paid, so that everything's accurate, everything's tied together, and we're not losing focus on the fact that we want to bring these budgets in, and hopefully guide them.
Anybody else?
Never thought.
You may.
Thank you.
I
I thought, and this may have already been thought of, but while we're doing this, because it's gonna look so different, I would love to make sure that it's clear when these documents go around, either through a footnote page or some kind of cover sheet, to really indicate, especially this year, what changes were made and why those budgets look so drastically different. If we can do that.
All right, Brooke?
Thank you. So just one final thing too, and I've said this again at all of the meetings as well. We seek counsel from our TATMs in terms of what they feel is a palatable number percentage increase. We seek that number from them every year around the month of December, as we're starting to get into our crunch time here from the school district's time of building the budget. And we try very hard to get to as close to a number as we can, but in the last couple of years, you'll recall that hasn't been able to happen. And so this year is the first year in my 4 years where we are getting very, very close to being where they need it, where we feel that number will align better with their numbers. But I think it's not lost on us, and I know that I've had this conversation with one of our TMs. I think back to saying, like, sometimes there's just always going to be a natural tension between a school department and the board of selectmen, or a superintendent and a TM. There's just always going to be a natural tension there, because your advocacy is different with who you're looking to support. And so we always need to keep in mind that our job is to do what's right for children first and foremost. And I really believe with all of my heart that every one of our school committees has done that in the last 4 years. And, I think that some of them have been particularly brave and courageous in going forward, and many of you that are sitting on this committee know that I'm talking about you, and some of those incredibly difficult meetings when we've gone in and it felt like we were just being berated or whatever, but we've always done what's right for kids. And I think that just speaks volumes for the committee members that we have right across NPS, and particularly with our region friends here. So I thank you so much for all of the work that you've done in the last 4 years with our budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Anything else? So I would just note that, our next meeting, this group is February.
This group.
This group, is February 6th. Yeah, I'm having a hard time keeping track of groups these days. February 6th. So, and then we don't meet again until the end of February. 27th, right? So February 6th, we will have new budgets. We will see the region only budget. We will see the central office budget. Because we need to, we can't wait until the 27th because that would be way too late. So we will get all those at that time. So that's gonna be a big meeting. And we'll have a better idea of where we stand. Overall, when we'll have our budgets all together, and also the capital asset
Capital asset
budget.
It will be by that next meeting, so.
By the 6th. So we'll have 3 new budgets on the 6th to review, so plan to roll up your sleeves. Okay, Heather?
I just had a quick question, and that final meeting in February, not having lived through this, are we gonna see like the full grants projection and the full revenue projection, the whole kit and caboodle?
Yes, we see before we go to the final vote.
Okay, all those revenue sources, we know it's anticipated we're getting $300,000 in Title I and it's covering 4.0. Yes.
Right.
Great.
So, yes, because then, our first meeting in March, I believe, is when we would, have our, final vote. Brooke?
Just as ever so quickly, before we leave the topic of budget, we just for reservations for our January 3rd festivity, January 30th for the budget workshop. We have currently for yeses of folks coming between school committee members and our administrators is at 31 tonight. 31 of you and our administrators will be there. From the towns, Orleans has 5 representatives that will be there. Brewster currently is at 10 representatives that will be there. Wellfleet will have 2, and Eastham is planning on having 5.
Oh, great. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
But just, no, it's an awful lot of budget stuff that's going on this year, and it's all moved in a great direction. And I mean, we promised for how many years to do a budget seminar, and this year it's coming off, so kudos to the chair and to Brooke and to Giovanna and Arlen. I'm sure you were behind all of it, so it's just, it's a lot of talk has come to action this year, and it's good, it's all movement in the right direction. And then, I know it takes a lot of effort, and Brooke, rather than going out in the whimper, you're going out with a bang, and you're gonna, but you also make it easier for the next round, which is just, this stuff will make it easier going forward, so it's just good stuff. It's excellent,
It's his favorite expression, good stuff. It doesn't
Good
get
stuff.
better. It doesn't get better than good stuff.
There we go.
Thank you, Chris. And Arlen has been at that photocopier for hours at a time, getting ready for January 30th. she's got boxes ready to go. So, and Sue Murray and her team, oh my goodness, they're so excited to show off the kitchen that night and and have a nice little dinner for everybody. And I told her it had to be quick. It's just, no, we can do it quick. So they are very excited. So yeah, Pat's ready to host. We're ready.
All right, that's it on the budget. I take it there's no surplus, Arlen. We move to reports and information. Is there any group, subcommittee, others that have something to report? Tom?
I won't go over the budget.
Come on.
Extensively. But when Brooke and the team gets done with trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack, between now and January 30th, we will be making progress on providing forecasts, which has been a request of a number of the communities. And we're probably looking at going out maybe 3 or 4 years. It's our first stab at it. I'm sure we'll do an outstanding job of it with the materials that we can retrieve, and it'll only get better next year when we have technology in place, and a lot of the data that we need to provide accurate forecasts will be at our fingertips. But thank you very much, guys, for adding to your pile. You've just been phenomenal. We appreciate your leadership, Brooke, on this whole budget process. And I know some of the, as you said, some of the sessions have been robust, but they've been, we've learned a lot. We've dug deeper, and we have greater knowledge of the budget. It puts us in a position that we can present and defend these budgets to the communities, and as you aptly said, so that we can do the right thing for the kids, and in the most economical way we can in consideration of our towns.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, it's an important decision we make every year when we pass the budget. And I always think that when you make a decision, it helps to make an informed decision. And that's sometimes been challenging. So I think every year we get more and more product. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other subcommittees or anybody else?
So no, capital asset did meet this week, and they do have a 1-year and a 5-year capital plan coming, but that'll be before us the next meeting, so we'll have a full conversation on it then. So.
Any word on the movement on the regional agreement?
Actually, it's beginning. Phone call from Wellfleet is in the game now, and I've spoken to their lawyer today. Yeah, so they will be coming shortly.
They haven't come back with a response.
I've not seen it. I did send you what we think. Okay. Yeah.
Some time ago.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that should be coming up shortly, I would think. All the towns have named their representatives to the working group now. So
it's gonna get full gear here shortly.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, just wanted to add a couple of words about the communication subcommittee. Katie, please feel free to jump in unless you want to take the lead on that.
You go ahead, Mary.
Oh, okay. Just real quick. We have met actually just last week, was it? It goes so fast. And have done a lot of work on coming up with some really good plans for crystallizing a communications plan, and whether it would be with staff or with a study. So those kinds of things are being discussed. I don't know if Brooke wants to go into any more detail other than that. And our next meeting actually is scheduled for February 27th. So I don't know if Brooke, you want to add anything?
No, I think that you did a great job, and you're right. And I think that there's a lot of work that continues to be going on behind right now. And I have a meeting set up with John Guilfoyle and company to flesh out some details on that, the component of the study. So more to follow for sure.
Thank you.
Just on the superintendent search, everybody knows where we are. Tuesday, 5 o'clock
Hell or high water? Oh, no.
in the auditorium. The head cat herder has demanded all cats be present. So we start at 5 o'clock and we go until decision. So don't make any big plans for that evening. I thank everybody for participating and who helped out in taking the candidates around. We had 2 of them here yesterday, 1 today. Probably 2 of the coldest days of the year, but it's the way it falls. So it was great. And anything else? No. All right. Any future agenda items?
Judy, just a real question, another question. Did you want everyone who participated in those community sessions over the past couple of days, do you want them to complete those feedback forms just like community members?
Absolutely. You're there as me. Yes.
Great.
Yeah. We don't know what you think unless you tell us, right? So.
We don't know what you think unless we tell you.
Oh, there you go. Catherine.
Yes, I, echoing what, community member Betsy Smith was talking about the DESE and Nauset response to, the concerns from our immigrant community. Can we sort of put that on a future agenda item? Because I don't know if in light of the fact that schools are no longer going to be considered safe spaces, if we need to, or if DESE is going to reevaluate their recommendations. And also we need to consider what we do as a district and how we protect and help our community members.
Yes, thank you. So Betsy spoke the other night so eloquently, I thought, at the Brewster meeting, and spoke on behalf of herself and on behalf of the organization that she works with. Just, I would agree with you. I think we're poised to, especially in light of today and some of the things that happened, and not on this side of Sagamore, of course, but with Boston and Worcester and Chelsea. And so I think that we have to have this discussion. I think, as I said the other night in Brewster, I think we're in a very, I would speak for myself, I think it's a very uncomfortable space to be in right now from my lens as a district, as a leader, as communities, because I don't know that anybody thought, maybe I'll take that back. I don't know that I thought it was going to happen quite as fast as it did. Now, I think that in all fairness to DESE, I think DESE tried to get ahead of it, but it was almost too fast for DESE. And so we've got trainings that are coming up next week, and both Matt Kravitz, who you know from tonight, and Kristen Anderson, our assistant superintendent, will be taking in those trainings. And so there is work that's being done. We also have connected again with our legalese on this, because they're trying to grapple with this as well. This is very complex right now as everybody tries to come to terms with it. And it's just happening at such a speed that it just seems breathtaking at times. So I think, Catherine, your point to put it on an agenda, I think would be very appropriate.
Yeah,
if we are feeling in an uncomfortable place, I can only imagine how
Right.
uncomfortable our immigrant students are feeling. And I think that, we need to be reaching out to them and making sure that they are emotionally supported, within the schools. I just,
Agreed, Rick. Absolutely agreed.
Catherine,
Oh, yeah, so, speaking from my own personal experience, I work, for New Bedford Public Schools. For 10 years, I was in working in a community school, which meant that we were very much involved in the lives of our students. And I think what we need to do is recognize the fact that for some families, the school is the safe space. The school is where they're going to come for maybe legal advice. And what we need to do as a district is be that kind of front line in the community with our families and our parents, and like maybe having sessions of your legal rights are, this, printing out cards in their home language with an English translation that they can hold up if immigration knocks on their door, because they may not know their rights. And so this is a thing I really think that we need to help, like, be more active and proactive in helping our community members.
I mean, on that note, I think it's very valid. The schools have been the safe place. I think it's it shows we're at a point where there isn't any information, there's just a lot of confusion right now, or isn't any quality information on the best method to react. But I do think it's important that we get our lawyers and our supports of the state as well, and make sure that we get that information and get it out to our communities. Because I think that's correct. Many of these families don't have any other place to get their information. And sadly, in this day and age, a lot of the information that's coming across a lot of online services is not quality information. So we should fulfill that role. I think it's a role that we have fulfilled in the past, and it's more important now than ever.
okay. So on that kind of sad and scary note.
move to adjourn.
Okay, I think we can just all raise our hands and adjourn. Thank you very much. 2 hours tonight, 2 hours and 5 minutes, yes.
So come on, we're here at 5:30.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Be kind, be good.